Good evening, loves, and thank you for tuning in to Triple Chalice Tarot. I am your host, Rowan Nix, here with my co-host, AlunaOdette.
Hello.
And Taruk Vishal.
Hello.
And we're all here on tonight's show. We're going to cover the basics of tarot, such as choosing a deck, as well as finding cards that really vibe with you. And we're going to go over some of our own initial experiences with the deck. Later on this evening, Miss AlunaOdette will be reading for us to see what the cards have to say. Now, Taruk, I know we were going over some ways to identify a good fit for a tarot deck. What would you recommend for those of us listening at home who maybe don't have the experiences that we do?
Well, personally, I feel you should go with your gut feeling. I feel either you personally go to a New Age store or you look online for the tarot deck that suits you the best. Look at some illustrations, do some Google searches. That's what I personally believe. I know some other people may have different opinions, which is kind of what I wanted to ask you guys certain questions about tarot decks and how to choose them. Are you guys ready?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so my first question to Rowan and Aluna, I want to know, do you guys believe in the custom that a tarot deck should be gifted to you, or do you believe that it should be, or that it could be bought? Well, let's start with Rowan.
Okay, cool. So my first cards that I got, I did not buy. They were a gift given to me, so I guess I followed the custom in that way, although it was inadvertent. And they were actually gypsy fortune-telling cards that my stepmother found in a flea market when I was about 11 or 12. But then I bought my first tarot card deck right after that, which was the Mythic Tarot, I believe. So personally, I don't feel that it matters one way or the other. If you find cards that you really like and you gel with, I think you should go ahead and go for them. The only custom I follow is that for any kind of divinatory item or magical item in that way, you should not haggle price. You should always pay whatever it's listed as. That's the one custom I go by. But what about you, Aluna?
Well, I purchased, I did it the conventional way. I did it the New Age way. I purchased my very first deck, and like I said in our first show, like, it was very novelty for me. So I was just more attracted to the deck's illustration and the artwork and just having it as a collector's item. So and decks that I have bought, I've gelled with very well and established a connection with as well. So I don't think, hey, if you get it the mystical way of having someone drop it in your lap or having, summoning it forth or manifesting it forth, and it happens that way, that's definitely bonus points for your magic skills. But
right.
Yeah, if you
we
buy
all
it, I see
somebody.
nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry. No, I was saying we all don't know somebody who has a tarot deck or who isn't even into tarot, Everybody doesn't know somebody,
right.
So everybody can't, just have a deck gifted to them.
Right.
Especially for those of us not living in like a major cosmopolitan area. I know New Age shops are very hard to find, and so buying the deck is really the only option. And there are a couple of sites that I'll link onto our Facebook page later that you can look at for some great online decks and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, my next question is, do you feel personally that a beginner should purchase the traditional Rider-Waite deck, or do you feel like it doesn't matter, go with your instinct? I'll start with Aluna this time.
Okay. I don't feel like you should sort of stunt your fire by saying, okay, I must absolutely have the Rider-Waite deck to start with, because sometimes you feel more aligned with an oracle deck, which is not following the traditional Rider-Waite interpretations or archetypes in the cards. Some oracle decks don't even have the regular 78, major tarot that comes with the Rider-Waite tradition. So I think that yes, that it's going to be necessary at some point if you're looking to get serious and really learn, because the foundation of tarot is based off of Rider-Waite. So having the deck will give you a better sort of vantage points, I guess, when it comes to studying the art of it, because it is a system to it, but I don't think it should be your first purchase for a beginner.
Okay, Rowan.
So what about you, Rowan?
Well, like I said, my first deck was not even a tarot deck. It was just a sort of gypsy fortune cards that were, a very generic response, much like you were saying about, like, oracle cards. They're not traditional tarot in that way. I will say that if you are getting a tarot deck, you should not have to get the Rider-Waite deck, but you should get a deck that is a traditional deck in the sense of, like, the imagery that it uses, that it's all cups and pentacles and swords and wands, and that it's not something funky. Like, I know some have, like, the suit of skulls, the suit of crystals, the suit of this, the suit of that.
Right.
So it should be traditional in that sense. Maybe not necessarily Rider-Waite, but one that definitely has the symbology in it that the Rider-Waite has. Because the Rider-Waite deck is the grandfather deck. Did you start with Rider-Waite, Taruk? I don't know if we talked about that.
No. And actually going into that, I will lead into my next question, which I'll answer this question. My next question is, what made you choose your current deck, and what is your favorite deck? So the deck that I personally have, and my favorite deck, my only deck, is the African deck, which, consists of African mythologies, African characters. I was specifically looking for a deck that had, African traditional mythologies and the gods and the different heroes of the African continent. So I did find a deck that suited my needs. What about you, Rowan?
And that's interesting you say that. I don't mean to cut in. No. That's interesting you say that because in the tarot, there isn't a lot of diversity. I mean, there's diversity in the sense of, like, okay, you can get your Egyptian, you can get your Greek, you can get your, but there aren't a lot of Afro-centric or Afro-oriented decks. I'm sure they're under 5. They're probably under 5. So, yeah.
And especially in this day and age, too, we're moving into a much more multicultural experience as far as a magical community. So we are borrowing a lot from those themes. And I'm glad to see that there are growing numbers of African-inspired tarot decks, but I'm hoping for more diversity in it. Like, I would love a Santeria deck, for instance, or a Candomblé deck, or, something maybe influenced by all of that as well. To answer Taruk's question, my current deck, I think I've shown it on the page before, is the Revelations Tarot by Zach Wong. And I like it just because it's very eccentric. The characters in it are all very fantastical, which I like. It is a polarized deck, so the top of the card is different from the bottom of the card, and so it can be read in reverse or upright, which a lot of tarot cards can also be read that way, but I feel like it's better if you have a deck that maybe caters to that need. I had my Mythic Tarot, which is the tarot deck that I started with for the longest time, and then it was stolen from me. And that's another custom that I think is true. It's that, it was awful. When a tarot deck or any kind of magical item outserves its purpose for you, when you've outgrown it, the item will either vanish or get stolen or be destroyed of some kind, so that you have to get a new one. So it's just a process of growth. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess to answer the question, my current deck, I have I think I have 9 decks. I did count. And my partner was kind of like, you sure you need that many? And it's like, yes,
always.
But my current favorite deck, the deck that I've developed the closest bond with, is the Steampunk Tarot deck by Barbara Moore, Arthur Barbara Moore, renowned tarotist Barbara Moore, and artist Ali Fell. And what I really love and appreciate about this deck is, and I'll be reading with this deck tonight, is that it has the traditional Rider-Waite, archetypes, the cups, the swords, the major arcana, but it's brought to such a futuristic scene. There's science fiction with the steampunk and the machinery. It has a very Victorian, regal style to it. And though it doesn't have, of course, the diversity that I feel should be incorporated in a lot of decks, it is still a deck that I find very beautiful. The artwork is just gorgeous. There's a lot of colors, and there are a lot of darker, brassy tones that are not drowning out the scene a lot of times. So it's just a very nice deck. Yeah.
Mm, okay. Well, I'll ask another question, which is very interesting. Have you guys ever had a dream with your tarot deck? And if so, give us a quick little story. I'll start with Rowan.
I did have a dream with my deck. I had a dream that I was doing a spread for someone. It was a person that I was seeing at the time, and I kept dealing the cards, but the main card that I saw and all the other cards were blank was the tower. The tower kept coming up again and again and again and again. And like I think it was maybe a month or two after that we broke up. So it was definitely a prophetic dream in that way, I guess. I guess the cards were trying to send me a message that, things were breaking down, things were ending, things were coming soon enough, et cetera, which is what the tower card means. So yeah, definitely for me.
Wow, that's interesting. Well, I can't say that I have. That would be
really?
Does that dock me some points? I know, right? I don't think I
think
have
it does.
had a dream.
I think it does.
Oh,
oh, the heat is coming out.
I know. I haven't though. I don't know why. Now I've had other dreams, of course. I've had dreams of actually being in in sort of depiction of the tarot cards. I've seen the moon many times before. I've seen the chariot in dreams before, but never myself actually dealing the cards or holding my cards or holding the deck in general. No, I've never had that experience.
Wow.
I'll take my dock of points. I'll take my dock.
Yeah. I've actually had a few. The dreams I've had, it's that either I'm missing a card. Sometimes I have a dream that the cards are torn. I don't know what that means, but yeah, I've definitely had dreams that I'm missing a card and I'm looking for it, or the cards are torn, and I just wake up and I'm looking at my deck. I'm like, okay, everything is fine, everything is here. Yeah, definitely have had a few dreams. Do we have time for a couple more questions, or do we move on? Let me know.
You could do another question. But we're almost at our 15-minute mark.
Well, I guess my last question will be, what advice, I guess, would you give to a beginner with their first, let's say they bought their first deck, they have it, they're ready to go. What would be your advice to give a beginner starting? We'll go with Rowan.
I would say definitely find a deck that feels right to you. This is ideally a deck that you'll be dealing with time and time again, so really get one that the size dimensions are right, it'll feel good in your hands, you like imagery, and it'll feel right in your heart chakra, like in your chest cavity. That's where it normally feels right to me. And oftentimes when I get a deck, I'll take it and I'll press it against my chest and just hold it there for a second to kind of vibe with it in that way so that it becomes connected to me. It's an extension of myself.
Well, are we talking about just you already made the purchase, you have the deck, or choosing a new deck?
We could say that. You made
okay,
the
so
purchase,
you have the deck. I would say break
Mm-hmm.
open the box, get into every picture, get into every, and just admire the diversity, admire the different interpretations, and admire, the artwork itself, because that is, you liking the deck is going to be the first establishing bond. Obviously you don't want to work with a deck that just doesn't really fit.
Yeah, or that doesn't fit your aesthetic or whatever. And there's so much symbology in the tarot that people just miss. You really have to look into it sometimes.
Yeah, and I have to say, don't rely on the book. Go with your instinct. Look at the pictures, and what comes to you, say it out loud. Don't hold back. Usually what you feel, what pops into your head, the imagery, the visions, say them. Even if you kind of feel like, just say it, because usually you'll be right. That's the whole point of the tarot, is to ignite your inner vision, to help you unlock your inner water, your inner visions, so don't be afraid to say what you think, say what you feel, say what you're seeing inside. Definitely that would be my advice.
Beautiful, Taruk.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are at the second half of our show, and I, AlunaOdette, will be doing a 5-card spread reading tonight. And we're going to go with something pretty simple: present position, recent past, distant past. I'll do environmental factors to show what's surrounding, and then a possible outcome. So I've already shuffled my deck. I was feeling myself while y'all was talking. And now I am ready to see what the cards have to say. Okay. Wow. So the present position is the King of Swords. And the King of Swords is someone who is very mature intellectually and someone out there looking for a realm to experience that, explore that, magnify that. Intellectual. The king here in my steampunk tarot deck is shown not with his usual sword in hand, but with books. And in a library, he's around many informative books, and he looks very studious. He's pinned up, and he has a air about him that is saying that he, if you're going to come to him, make sure you're coming to him correct. Make sure your facts are in tow. So maybe this is you, someone out there listening, that you've gotten to this point with yourself, whether it be in your career or your personal life, that you really want the facts. You really want things shown clearly to you. And that is presently what I'm seeing with the King of Swords here. The next card is the recent past, and the recent past is the Ten of Wands. Now, connecting this to the present position, the King of Swords, this card is saying to me that you had to carry your burdens to get to this point. This is not a point of just, oh, hey, now I want the facts before everything. You carried experiences. You worn some battle bruises. In this depiction, there's a maiden, and she's walking in a darkened alley, and she has a load of wands on her back, 10 in total. And she has this look on her face. If she doesn't look defeated, she doesn't really look worn out, which is normally the depiction of this card, a person being kind of worn down. She actually is looking very determined, very like she has resilience in all of it, and she's stepping forward. She's continuing to make that pace forward. So in the recent past, this is saying to me that you out there you've been buckling down and getting it done with all the strife that comes with it. You've just been steady pacing forward, and this card is a reminder to you that you're on a path. She's in a darkened alley. So the alleyway is, and it being darkened, is saying that things aren't always illuminated in life, but you have to keep pressing forward. The next card is the distant past, so something that was impending way in the distant, and this is the Magician. Okay, and the Magician represents someone who, again, tying in with the King of Swords, someone who wants the knowledge through experience, someone who is about practical application, about bringing things forth into the, manifesting. He needs it real, and he needs it tangible. So this card is saying to me that, again, going through these experiences, going through these testaments and surviving through it and overcoming, okay, that's strength and valor in it of itself. And the Magician very much brings that mundane strength down, as he is master of all four of the artifacts of the suits. He has the sword, he has the wand, he has the pentacle, and he has the cups. And the luminescence, I said that right? The luminance, which is the sign that is often displayed like a sideways 8. Okay, for those of you not familiar, it's a sideways 8. So turn an 8 on its side is above his head, and that is normally symbolic for, and also he has the snake belt, symbolic for his tie to the universe, his knowing that as above, so below, as within, so without. So you sort of knowing within yourself that you've got to keep pressing onward. There is something left yet for you to do. And now we're going to go ahead into the next card, which is the environmental factors, and it's the Six of Cups. Now, the Six of Cups is a very cute card because this card is a depiction of two children. They're in the midst of a busy, smoggy town, and the young man is giving a chalice filled with flowers to a girl. And it's a bit of a reminiscence to say that because of all the positive and sort of sweet, innocent experiences that you've had, being jaded hasn't taken its full course over your soul, is what I'm kind of seeing. You know, oftentimes with so much going on and so much in your face, it does feel like, you have to just put up this wall and constantly be at a cautionary stance with everyone. But it's these moments like what's being displayed in the Six of Cups that remind us that there are moments in life that are worth it. There are moments in life that do make us smile, do make us reminisce on often good times. The Six of Chalices also represents good memories, happy moments, experiencing those. So in the environment, I would say this card is saying that even in the midst of all of it, these are the love and support that you do have around you is what's keeping you going forward. So cherish that, appreciate that, take blessing for that, and revel in it. So now for the final result or possible outcome is a good card. It's the Four of Wands. And the Four of Wands is about developing a safe space, a safe haven in the midst of all chaos. Well, not in the midst of chaos, but in the midst of the real world. And what's being depicted here is we have two ladies. They've set up a sort of picnic area. They've set up the tent by erecting these wands. And there's just food and plentifulness, but there's the world going on around them. They appear to be sitting in the midst of a park. So it's people outside around them that kind of look like they're busy and going about their day. But these two young ladies, they've taken time and space out to celebrate their moment. And this is a reminder to whoever out there is listening, this message is for you, to take those moments, own them, get that break, tune out of the social media, tune out of the radio, tune out of TV for a while and really get into reflecting on yourself and being appreciative of what you do have. And I think that's my message from the universe.
Yes.
So now to go into what did you guys think about with all the cards that came out?
I mean, should I give my little interpretation or?
Yeah, of course.
Well, I mean, okay, well, with the King of Swords, how I know it to be, my deck, it has to do with, somebody who, is a very cautious person, somebody who is objective, so they're always on the defense, always defensive, always ready. The King of Swords has that sword ready to strike at any point of attack or even thought of attack. There's somebody who has to stay on guard, okay? Somebody who's always rational, so that's what I see. Now, the recent past, the Ten of Wands, it seems like there was some conflict there or some oppression, which caused you to be the King of Swords, okay? So you've been oppressed and put down, and people have put their foot on you, so that is what has caused you to stand up and, like put that defense, and stand in your King of Swords. With the Ten of Wands is what I'm seeing. Now, the distant past is the Magician. That card to me symbolizes control of your environment, controlling your life, taking initiative, control of everything, control of your ego, even the way you speak to people, which is maybe what had to do with the Ten of Wands, being oppressed and people stepping on you. Maybe, the Magician card was saying to speak your mind, to put some strength inside of yourself, okay? Now, with the environmental factors, the Six of Chalices, this card to me is saying because of you being in your King of Swords, the Six of Chalices, this is a card of a positive experience, you having pleasant memories, enjoyable times, celebration. So you've had to kind of get a little tough with people in order to have your surroundings benefit you. Now, the final result being the Four of Wands. Now, this card is a card of prosperity, of refuge, finding a safe place. With the Ten of Wands, you were not feeling safe, okay? Now, your final result, you are home now. This is a card of harmony and peace. So, I'm proud of the person who this goes out to, because you have been oppressed. You have had to fight to be able to stand in your power as the King of Swords and to find refuge and prosperity and peace. And now you're there. So that's my little interpretation.
And I think it's spot on, too. Just real quick, what I see in the spread is that this is obviously a very resilient person. The distant past of the magician shows that this is someone that can really roll with the punches. They obviously were trapped in a bad situation, the Ten of Wands. Like you said, that's a very oppressive situation. The fact that the indicator in this is the King of Swords definitely means that this is a planner. This is someone that's very intellectual, very within their own thoughts. And as a fellow air sign in that way, I just want to caution you that sometimes action is better than planning every little minute detail out. You have to take on the day, and that's the action, the assertive, aggressive nature of the King of Swords. Environmental Six of Cups, that's just saying that this next stage in your life will be one of innocence and bliss and will really take you back to your joy, what made you happy in the beginning. And the final outcome being Four of Wands, like Taruk very eloquently said, this is a safe place. This is a refuge. So don't be afraid to let go of like the past and the oppression, to be yourself and really grow. And oh my God, we're almost out of time. So thank you all so much for listening in. This is Rowan Nix with my co-host AlunaOdette.
Hi. Bye.
And Taruk Vishal.
Bye, you guys. Thanks for listening.
We will go ahead and put up some resources for if you want to buy tarot online, some websites. Please follow us at Triple Chalice Tarot on Facebook. We are on YouTube as well as House of the Triple Chalice Tarot. And what is our Twitter again, Aluna, just for the girls listening?
It's Triple Chalice Tarot.
Wonderful. Easy to remember. So until next Wednesday when we'll be doing our weekly show, thank you so much and have a great night, guys.
Bye.
Bye.